Hello, all. My name is Islas Ahmed Nawaz. I am just gonna go through my current project. So, quickly a product demo. Just want to kind of walk everyone through this now. Essentially, over half of UK businesses now use AI, but three-quarters of them have no written policy for it. So that means stuff, pasting customer data, financial records, even health information, into free AI chatbots with nothing governing how. And under UK GDPR, that's a massive problem that's waiting to happen. So I essentially built BrightRule, and I'm running it locally now. It essentially turns a 3 minute assessment into a proper AI policy and risk register. So I'm gonna just do a walkthrough of that today. So let's say we've got a buyer that's a small firm, an accountant, or a letting agent, or a care provider, handling sensitive data, daily. With no compliance team and no budget for a consultant. So BrightRule actually gives them that first foundational document set free in the time it probably takes to make a coffee. There's four short steps. So first, the basics: the company name, the sector, and size. So I'll use a care provider because they handle some of the most sensitive data there is. Step two: which AI tools are in use, and it deliberately asks about the unofficial ones, stuff using free chat GPT on personal accounts, which seems like it's the most common gap of all. Step three: what data does those tools touch? And step four: three honest questions about current practices. Does AI output reach customers? Is there a policy already? Are staff trained? And then the engine actually goes to work. So first it scores the risk, and this isn't AI guesswork, it's a deterministic engine. So the same answers always give the same defensible result. So this firm comes out high risk, and here's exactly why. And each finding is specific. So customer AI tools is high. It's a breach vector. There's no rated policy high. UK GDPR Article 5 requires you to demonstrate accountability. Health data in AI, which is high, that needs a DPIA first. Every finding has the fix and the regulation it maps to, and then the deliverables are tailored, acceptable use policy, approved tools, prohibited uses, data handling, incident report, staff sign off sheet, and a risk register. Every risk, its likelihood, impact, mitigation, and owner, both download straight to Word, ready for letterhead. A document that they own, not a PDF they can't edit. And that's BrightRule. From nothing to two adaptable compliance documents in 3 minutes, free. And it's live at brightrule.co.uk. So I'll just yeah, so that's gonna be running here. But I'm gonna be just going through it locally. So I'm just gonna go through the code base now. So this is my ID. So here's how it's built. Deliberately simple. It's essentially a small Express backend, a vanilla JavaScript front end with no framework. There's three runtime dependencies. There's no build step, no database. Everything is stateless for a tool people are meant to trust. Simple is a feature. So starting with the server.js. So um, essentially, I'm just gonna go through this. So here's how it's built. Essentially, every response gets a strict set of security headers, a content security policy that blocks inline scripts, HSTS, clickjacking protection set once and it's applied everywhere. There is a two rate limiting, so ordinary traffic gets one budget, and I've got the expensive AI endpoint, which is a much tighter one. And this is quite deliberate because I've set a hard cap on how many paid AI generations run at once. Even if someone, was to actually hammer the endpoint to run on my build, I've made sure it's bounded, because cost control, as a it's got to be a first class feature here. And then it actually drains that in-flight work on shutdown. So a deploy never actually cuts off a user, mid document. So that's pretty much how how I build that. Next we go to the constants, and this is the single source of truth. And essentially here, everything the system knows lives here. So the risk weights, the health, and the children's data score 5, financial 4, and so on. And the thresholds that turn a score into low, medium, or high. One file, so essentially the scoring and the validation never drift apart. And then I'm going to go into the validation. So essentially here, never trust the client. Every request here is going to be revalidated here against an allow list before anything happens. So the front end has its own copy of the options, but the server doesn't trust it. It checks for every field independently, and then it strips dangerous characters out of the company name, so nothing malicious can be stored or echoed back, and that is the boundary. Bad import is rejected with a clear error, not processed. And then we go into the scoring. I'm just having my green tea in the background. Yeah, so we go into the scoring. So this is the deterministic engine. So this is where I'd spend the most time. So and this is the heart of it. And essentially, and the part I'm the most deliberate about here is not just about AI. It's a fixed deterministic engine. So it raises specific findings. There's a customer, there's a consumer tools in use. There's no written policy. There's special category data without a DPA, DPIA, each with a severity, a plain English explanation, not just a concrete fix, and the exact UK GDPR. So it then actually scores everything and lands on low, medium, or high. And I kept this quite deterministic on purpose, because the risk assessment here is that part has to be defensible and repeatable. AI writes the pros, and the maths is actually quite hands built. So we're gonna then move into the Claude JS. So this is the AI layer. So this is where Claude comes in. So this is a simple system prompt that makes it act as a, you could think of it as a UK data protection specialist writing in plain British English. So the two things I'm quite proud of here is that first, it drafts documents as parallel calls, which roughly halves the weight. The shared part of the prompt is cached across both calls to save cost and time. And secondly, it handles refusals and truncation properly. So let's say if the model declines or runs long, it does throw, and then we actually fall back gracefully. And that's on purpose. So then we go into the templates. This is where I call the safety net, and this is what actually means the product never breaks. So let's say if the AI key is missing, or the API errors, or a response just comes back formed, it actually falls back to this deterministic template engine, and then builds the same two documents from the assessment data. So it always returns something useful online or off, and the AI makes the documents better. It isn't just essentially a single point of failure. So that's just something to consider here. Um, cool. Then we kind of move on to the front end wizard, I like to call it. So the front end wizard is a small state machine. There's no framework, but it does track the step you're on and the answer. So it validates each step before letting you continue, and on the last step, it posts everything to the API and then renders the result. So yeah, so that's pretty much you know eh, how it does that. So yeah, we go then now to the markdown, and here it's small, but it's important because the AI retains markdown. So I wrote a tiny renderer here for it. So the key detail right here, it escapes all of the import first before applying any formatting. So even if a document somehow contain any malicious markup, it can't execute, and security is it's imperative here. So I've been quite purposeful in that index. So we go on to the index.html, and here is what I like to call the shell. So one HTML file which actually holds the landing page, the wizard, and the result styling is obviously handwritten CSS. There's no tailwind, there's no web front, so it loads instantly, and there's a structured data baked in, so search engines and AI assistants understand this page, and that's very important, and it's genuinely deployed. It's not a local host demo. I've got a Versal config for the live site, a full Docker and KDE setup with an automatic HTTPS as an alternative, and a CI pipeline that actually runs the test suite on every push. It's tested, it's hardened, and it's live at brightrule.co.uk. And as you can see, we've got it running Docker here. So, and it's obviously running on port 3000, so that's what you can see here locally, and that's essentially BrightRule end to end. So let me just run through it here. So let's say we want to start the assessment. Let's call ourselves healthcare test. Right now, let's say we are let's just say we are the other, and we've got 10 to 49 employees, right? So he's gonna ask me which AI tool does your business use? So we can have Claude tool, Claude Team Enterprise, Google, other chatbots. Let's say obviously health and medical data, everything else, internal documents. So does AI generated output go directly to customers? For example, yeah, does it? Let's say click no. Do you have a written AI policy today? Let's just say no. Have staff been trained on safe AI use? I've clicked no. So it's preparing your documents. And this is where it's quite helpful running through the code base and seeing exactly how I've implemented every little step here, because it really does help when going through it end to end. So now it'll probably take it shouldn't take too much longer. So it's now drafting the acceptable use policy, and you'll be able to see exactly what we need for our documents. So yeah, your AI risk profile. So as you can see, high risk stuff for using free or consumer AI tools. So yeah, so we're saying, okay, healthcare test. Obviously, that's the name that we used. So we've got option to download for Word or Markdown, and it kind of just goes through everything that you need. What best practices are, and I think it's very useful because it really does showcase where BrightRule will succeed here, and that's essentially BrightRule end to end. So this is a deterministic risk engine for defensibility. We've got AI for the writing, a template fallback so it never fails, and a proper production hardening. So it's built to be trusted, because that's the whole point of a compliance product. Thank you for watching today. It's been Isla Salman Nawaz.